Hi guys, I am Selassie for Afrotaku, and this is my review of Vinland Saga, episode 22. A long time ago, in a place called Jutland, there was a Viking warrior called Olaf. Olaf had a lot of children, and he had them with slaves. Women that he had taken away from their villages turned into his slaves, and he had children with them. One of these kids worked with a blacksmith. He would work in the soot and in the ash, and he eventually got a name because his father didn't give him a name. The name he got was the one covered in ashes. The name he got was the name Askelad. In this episode of Vinland Saga, we got to see the history of Askelad and why he became who he is. It's an interesting theme that has been going on in anime this weekend. History, your past. We got a bit of history with Boruto. They went back to the past. We got history with Boku no Hero, with Kirishima. We went back to his past and saw a bit of his life back then. We get history now with Vinland Saga. I'm sure you've seen the review from last week. I expected to see the fight, finally. Thorfinn versus Askelad, but in this episode, what we got was a lot of dialogue. We got to hear Askelad talk about his past, and it was very interesting to see that Askelad is actually very similar to Thorfinn. In fact, that might be why he's so fond of Thorfinn and keeps Thorfinn around. We see that Askelad avenged his mother by killing his father. It's a very, very similar story. You look at King Sweyn, how King Sweyn became the king. He was a prince and he killed his own father. And now we see Canute trying to do the exact same thing, kill his father and become king. It's interesting, this theme of history, and that history doesn't really teach us to learn from our mistakes. It just shows us that there's a pattern. Year after year, the same things happen. People give birth, the seasons change, and the same cycles are continuing. We'll get back to Askelad's backstory in a second. But let's talk about what happens at the start of the episode. The episode starts with the fight between Bjorn and Askelad, if you can even call it a fight. The honorable send-off that Askelad gave to Bjorn. We heard Bjorn say that he just wanted to be Askelad's friend, and Askelad admits that Bjorn was the only friend that he ever had. It was really funny seeing the interaction between Knut and Thorkel. It's amazing seeing how much confidence Knut has now. Compared to the Knut of old, if Thorkel had menaced him and looked at him in the face like he did, Knut would have shrunk away and would have been really scared. But the new Knut is so confident. We have this WhatsApp group where sometimes they talk about rankings and battles. And I like what Thorkel said, that he isn't necessarily weaker than Askelad just because Askelad is beating Thorfinn and Thorfinn beats him. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. So the long-awaited fight starts. We've seen Thorfinn fight Askelad maybe 3 or 4 times. And we know what Askelad does. Askelad always plays into Thorfinn's anger and gets him to stop thinking during the battle. And he does this again, and as usual, Thorfinn falls for it. It was very frustrating for me that Thorfinn couldn't see that Askelad was just taunting him and fell for it. He took the bait. It was really, really annoying. Thorfinn got trashed. We all watched the episode. We saw what happened. He got absolutely trashed. After Askelad beats him up, Askelad tells us about the history, tells us about his mother who was a slave, his father who was a Viking, tells us again how much he hates Vikings. And we get to learn a bit more about Askelad. He also hates warriors. He's a Viking and he's a warrior. He doesn't connect with these things. He doesn't connect with these parts of his personality. He hates them deeply. It was shocking to hear that he killed his own father. And he gives Thorfinn an education on how to kill someone you hate. And it's interesting that Askelad hated his father, and Askelad killed his father. He killed his father when his father was most vulnerable, in his sleep. And that's something that Thorfinn had the opportunity to do. He had the opportunity to kill Askelad while Askelad was resting, but he didn't, because Thorfinn has honor. We know Askelad doesn't have honor. So it was just interesting to see like history and past and things repeating themselves and the little different ways that those things change. So all in all, it was a very interesting episode. The question is asked again, whose anime is this anyway? Who is the MC? We thought it was Thorfinn, but we are getting so much backstory on Askelad now. And I actually like Askelad. I mean, I know he's dirty and he murdered his own father and blamed the murder on his brother. He framed his brother and they killed his brother and he was fine with it. And this was when he was 13 years old. It's sad that I like someone like this, but I like the character. I'm looking forward to the rest of the episodes, looking forward to where this will go. Subscribe to the channel, and let's see where Vinland Saga goes next week. Peace.